sports fans? Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
And now, broadcasting live from Las Vegas, the Snake Sports Talk Show with Jake Silva starts now.
All right, here we go. Live on a Wednesday. We made it to the middle of the week. This is the Snake Sports Talk Show. Chase and myself, wherever and however you may be watching and listening, thanks for making us part of your day. We're live on all platforms, Roku, iHeartRadio, and all social media platforms. But you like, subscribe, hit the bell button, keep you up to date on future and past episodes. I don't know what to make of it. There either is going to be lots of tricks or there's going to be lots of treating in the NFL as we get ready for Week 9 and just before the trade deadline. But Chase, I got to tell you, man, look, I don't want to be the overhyping guy, but I thought Jameis Winston looked pretty damn good this weekend.
I thought so too, man. It was phenomenal seeing the guy out there and seeing him sling the rock like he did. And this just goes to show everybody, including the Browns organization, that quarterback is the missing piece. It is the missing piece to this link that we have. And it also shows that they were ignorant for starting Deshaun Watson for the 6 weeks that he was out there. I understand that with the contract that he's making, you need him on the roster and you need him to play. But if you don't want to cut him and deal with a lot of the salary cap next year, bench him, make him a backup, do whatever you got to do to help alleviate some of that pressure and whatnot that you have. But they cannot go into next season without drafting a quarterback or addressing that in the draft. I mean, if we come in and we beat the Los Angeles Chargers going into the bye week, and then we come back and we beat the Saints after the bye week, what does this show you for the front office and the league and the team? Like, this goes to show you that this is an entirely different team. It's the Flacco 2.0 all over again. Because Jameis is a guy that is a gunslinger, and the guy that, you know, he'll make mistakes and throw interceptions, but Sunday showed you that he is not afraid to sling the rock. 3 touchdowns, 334 yards in his first start. Like, Deshaun has had 19 starts total as a Cleveland Brown.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference at the end of the day. And again, like, you know, because that's where we're going to be jumping upon it on this topic. As of right now. So the Indianapolis Colts have in fact announced that Anthony Richardson, second-year quarterback, has now been benched because of offensive struggles, and they're going to be rolling with Joe Flacco. Here's the part that I think is very hard for a kid like Anthony Richardson. And look, I like the kid. I really do. But there's a part of this that you can honestly look at from every angle. Anthony Richardson has not looked like himself post the injuries. The other thing is that I think what's also incredible, you have a rock star head coach in Shane Steichen, who, by the way, has had many of the coaching spurts where he was going to be a successful head coach in the future. You look at what he's done with the Chargers, with both Phillip Rivers and with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was breaking multiple rookie records. Then he goes to Philadelphia, turns Jalen Hurts into a not-so-turnover-prone machine, and turns him into a Super Bowl contending quarterback. The offense looked absolutely phenomenal under Shane Steichen. this is what's interesting about the Colts, because I talked to a lot of very close people, Derek Larger, multiple people, even Locked On Colts, about this. I thought this team would be very, very good from the get-go. And right now, there's a lot of these struggles. I think part of this is I don't believe it's Shane Steichen, the head coach, because he has shown a track record that he is very, very good at offensive play calling. And here's the other part. Look at some of the offensive components they have. They got A.D. Mitchell they got in the draft. They have Michael Pittman. They have Josh Downs. They have Alec Pierce. The weapons are not the problem. You have Jonathan Taylor, a very good running back. That's not the problem. And then you have somewhat of an offensive line. Now, it's not as strong, but it's capable of getting the blocks. That's clearly not the problem. And not to mention, they added in a defensive pass rusher in Laiatu Latu because they needed to fix up a bit of that defensive component. Anthony Richardson, coming back from the injury, he is right now in the bottom tier of quarterbacks this season amongst completion percentages, amongst touchdown to interception ratio. It is bad. And listen, this is the second year. You know how many quarterbacks have gone through this? Almost about the last 8 quarterbacks that have. Alex Smith, in his first 2 years in San Francisco, mind you, he had a defensive coach at the time, and this did not work at all. There was a lot of promise from the kid in Utah, and that went downhill. Okay? It wasn't until Jim Harbaugh came in and got the best of Alex Smith before he left for Andy Reid in Kansas City. Vince Young had a very good rookie season with the Tennessee Titans. The next year, not the same team. And then eventually injuries started to come about. So this happens for many quarterbacks. The difference of it is, and I'll give you a prime perfect example, and I heard this over the radio to this morning. Look at Josh Allen's first 2 seasons with the Buffalo Bills. You didn't know about this kid in Wyoming. The kid clearly can run. He was their run game. Clearly can throw and is very physical. But look at some of the components that Josh Allen in his first 2 seasons, what he had to deal with. He didn't have a Stephon Diggs at the time. I think he had John Brown, and if I remember correctly, he also had another kind of mid-tier, not very as great, but still as productive type wide receiver. He didn't have a strong enough receiving core. That wasn't until they made the move for Stephon Diggs, and then in comes Gabe Davis. They then add in the rest is history. But Josh Allen, if you think about it in the first year, not great, but that's because the entire organization was going through a shift. And then by the second year, it got better. Wasn't as great, but it got better. Not until Brian Daboll unlocked all of his potential. Anthony Richardson, and here's the part. He has all those offensive weapon components. He has a very good running back with a great run game. And he has somewhat of a capable defending offensive line. And he's playing like this. So it's interesting to see this because this is the second year with Anthony Richardson. He's been suffering injuries. And then not to mention, this is the most inconsistent quarterback now in the second year. So the Colts, let me tell you something. The Colts didn't want to pull this move because this ruins his confidence. But you know what? Jay Glazer mentioned something about this, that this is a lesson that Richardson hopefully can understand and take with him to move forward in the next year. So this is what the Colts are doing. They're moved on. They're sitting down Anthony Richardson for the year, get him healthy, get him upright, get him in the right mood and in the right position, hopefully in the right physical stature, because tapping out in the middle of a game when the team obviously needs you in a division rival game against the Texans, that's uncalled for. And Chase Daniel even mentioned it. He sounded off on it. But Joe Flacco, we've seen this story more than twice. He comes in, offensive coach. If you recall last year, the Browns looked like a dumpster fire quarterback with the injuries that they suffered. In comes Joe Flacco off the couch with an offensive coach in Kevin Stefanski, and the team went 11-6. Joe Flacco, yet again, has to come in. Shane Steichen, offensive coach. And now, granted, this may not be an easy matchup against the Vikings this weekend, but he's got to come in and he's got to make the Colts look viable, even making the last playoff spot, because right now the Chargers are in the last spot if the playoffs started. So there is chances that those wild card spots could end up shifting up as we get closer toward the end of the season. But I think if you're the Colts, they did not want to make this move personally, but they needed to make it for the sake of the season. Shane Steichen's a very good coach. It's not him. And the components on offense are great. That's not the problem. So I think with Anthony Richardson, take some time, reflect upon it, get better, and be better at it for next season. But you're rolling with Joe Flacco. He's been capable of lifting up offenses with offensive coaches. Expected that the Colts may be in the mixes to fight for that last wild card spot. All right, so the move that happened just recently in Baltimore, and even after the loss against the Cleveland Browns, there was a bunch of takeaways up and on this. People don't believe that Deontay Johnson really is a very good move for the Baltimore Ravens. But I'm here to kind of rebuttal up on this. Is Deontay is not there to be the Ravens' number one receiver. He's not. What he is, and this is in context, he is there to serve as Lamar's over-the-top receiver. Look at some of the teams that have the over-the-top receivers. What does that do for their star receivers? That allows them to create space. That allows them to get open much more, and it also takes the heat off of them. So with Lamar, if you saw the receiving core this past Sunday against the Browns, how many times has Lamar had to throw the ball, and in crucial spots, Rashad Bateman's dropping the ball? Or in times, and I know that this is usually the recipe that could hurt the Ravens, and that's by eliminating the run game and forcing Lamar Jackson to now have to pass. That's usually what this means all the time. You do that. I mean, the Chiefs did it in the playoffs, and that concluded Lamar can't throw under pressure. He can't complete it to his components. So in this particular situation, Deontay Johnson really does serve as another viable weapon, because as of right now, if you looked at that Ravens defense is so decimated with injuries. It's also missing key components like Geno Stone and Patrick Queen. Without those two, it's not the same defense. The other thing that's also a stinger is Mike McDonald, the former DC, now a head coach in Seattle. You lost your defensive coordinator. The construction of the defense is not the same. But they do have Justin Madubuike. They do have Roquan Smith. But you are trusting a young rookie corner in Nate Wiggins, who I really like, and I do think he has upside. But that's a lot of pressure. So if anything, the Ravens want to upgrade up on offense, because there's going to be points that if the defense doesn't play shutdown, Lamar will have to bail them out in shootouts. That's what this move meant. And by the way, they get him and they get a 6th-round pick for a 5th rounder. And the Panthers are dumpster fire. I watched that game in person in Denver this past weekend. Carolina does not look great. And they need something good for them. But unfortunately, it's not looking that way. But the best thing you could do is trade some key pieces that you know can help on other teams. But I think Deontay Johnson, I really do think as a component, as an over-the-top receiver, is only going to make Zay Flowers a lot better. The other thing is Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. You can't forget the 2 tight end set. That's another thing that also can happen out for the Ravens. But the whole point of this, the Ravens are not ready to throw in the towel. They are not. They want to keep that offense viable, regardless of how the defense looks. And we have the trade deadline November 5th. So anything can happen from here. But the best part is they get an offensive component, and it keeps the offense viable while the defense can't seem to be playing shutdown. We just watched how that game ended in Cleveland, and Cleveland pulled off a stunner. But that, for the Ravens, for the remainder of the year, is what that defense will look like if they don't make a move and they don't end up getting somebody up in there to help with a young group that's only going to get better from here, but they need some serious assistance trying to hold up some of their opponents against the offense. So, good stuff. No, I'm telling you, why that moves like this, it makes sense. Because you get an over-the-top receiver from there. Zay Jones now can go and create space for himself. There's not a whole lot of heat against him. And for Lamar, that is the one recipe people are figuring out. You stop the run game. If you stop Derrick Henry in his tracks and you stop Lamar from running the football, what is it he cannot end up doing under pressure? And that's throwing the ball. But this now allows them to where if the first second that run game is not working for them, they have to change that up. And Todd Monken is literally going to have to figure that out one way or another. But that defense is not going to be bailing them out very quickly. They are going to be in games where Lamar has to bail them out in shootouts. That's what I anticipate is going to look like for the remainder of this series of the season.
Yeah, no, I said it at the beginning of the season, and, everybody laughed at me, and Ravens fans, started making fun of me, thinking that I don't know football. But, like I told them, losing Mike McDonald, their linebacker coach, their DB coach, and their defensive line coach is going to hinder that defense badly. Yep. And it has, and it showed. But, is looking at this move, it just makes me mad knowing that the Ravens just got that much better. But it also, on the other hand, makes me think, the Carolina Panthers do not know a dang thing about football if they're going to do this move, because you had a solid number one option, if you want to consider him that. If not a number two, that's fine. Mm-hmm. A solid number one option for any quarterback, whether it's Bryce Young or somebody that you get this year, to come in and, be that option. That takes pressure off of a need that you need to draft for this team, and you can go address that somewhere else. You would think that they'd want to keep as many offensive weapons on this team as they possibly can for Young or any other quarterback, and then develop the team elsewhere, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Further on the offense, maybe get a good tight end in there, maybe get another wide receiver, maybe even get another, like a good running back. But trading away one of your best weapons does not make sense for the Carolina Panthers.
Well, here's the thing. Now this opens up for their rookie, Xavier Legette. But the other thing that I watched over the weekend while I was at the Broncos-Panthers game, there's a kid out there, Coker, that young wide receiver. Boy, did he look like he had some very good upsides. But the problem is that the Panthers, don't develop well because they're too impatient and too incompetent as an organization. So we know that right off the bat. But they did end up saying is they will not be trading away, J.C. Horn or one other impactful player because they want to see this thing through. But how good of that is that going to last? Because to be honest, I'd be taking compensation, but nothing's going to get better until this ownership really wakes up and stops hindering all of this stuff. So again, I was walking in with the idea that I thought Bryce Young, after being benched, he's learned a bit and probably would have looked good. The first drive I watched from the Panthers, after once little Jordan Humphrey fumbled the ball, they come away with it, and then the first drive, Bryce Young's throws looked good. Then after that, it was crickets. The offense didn't even look the same. And that was when Denver, their defense started piling up on this offense. And so I think you really got to do what's best for this. I mean, this is a one-year deal for Deontay Johnson, so he's a one-year rental. But I just think at the end of the day, this seems it's good for the offense. but it's bad for the defense. And I love Nate Wiggins. I think he's got very good upside as a rookie out of Clemson. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it clearly shows that they're missing that component, that the important piece, the important chef in the room that is going to mix up all the, the entrees flavorful. You don't have that. Now it's like it's not going to be the same.
Yeah, and when the Ravens hit the playoffs, it's going to be a shootout with any high-powered offensive team out there, especially like a team like the Chiefs who somehow, some way end up putting it together on offense when it really matters, especially if they're getting Hollywood Brown back in the playoffs when it matters the most and everything. That's going to be a huge piece added to the Kansas City Chiefs roster. But the Ravens, like, I saw that game, and there was a lot of dropped interceptions, dropped passes. Rashad Bateman had one bounce off his helmet. And, Mark Andrews was lighting up the defense and torching us and everything. But, going on the other side of the ball, I'm going to double back to the whole Watson and Winston thing real quick. Like, everybody coming into this year thought that this team was going to be good, and the only reason why this team was bad was because of Deshaun Watson. He's been with us for 19 games, has yet to throw for 300 yards. Winston, it does it in one game, and then Flacco does it like 5 out of the 6 games that he was there, and it's insane. And all I'm sitting here saying is that, the teams are getting better. The deadline is on Tuesday. What other moves are we going to see take place? Because DK Metcalf is getting rumblings. I've heard that Sauce Gardner is getting some rumblings. I've also been hearing that there might be a big defensive splash on the defensive side of the football with some top defensive talent going. The only ones that I know aren't going anywhere are TJ Watt and Myles Garrett. I
mean, lots of treats that could be shifted around by the time that we get into Tuesday because, I've said this. I'm not throwing my fandom up out there, and me better this way. But that Chargers-Browns game, however that game is going to go about, because come Monday, if I see the result on Sunday, mark my words, some sort of trade is going to be happening after that. I don't know what it is, but I mean, again, I don't have the source, but I just have a gut feeling, and this happens all the time, where teams come into town, and if they put on a performance, and for whatever reason is something that they have linked themselves into, there may be a chance there might be a move made after this game, but it just depends on what the result will be, and then come Monday morning, because that can happen.
The one thing that the Chargers are missing badly is their offensive help. Their offensive help. If they come away from that game knowing that they were this close to winning that, like if they lose to Cleveland, if they were this close to winning that game, and the Chargers are right in the thick of things. They're 4-4 right now.
They are 4-3 right now, sitting third in the AFC West. Yes, third. And the thing is that they have already put in their plans for next year, because if you think about it, they are 5th in spending cap space at $77 million, and I'll get to that in a bit. So, but I think if you do this right, because I look at it from the off season, the trade deadline is. Who amongst the trade targets could we get that we might have an extra year with, so that he could be part of the future plans? We can then go and get an off-season move, and then that solidifies. Now, who are we really drafting at the end of it? But of course, too, records come into play, and it's momentum. So that could be interesting. But, again, and this could be the similar story for all the other teams in the NFL. But, like I said, anything is possible from here. But here's what I will tell you, though, from the stretch of the Ravens in the 5 games they have the Broncos this week. Then it's the Bengals, Steelers, Chargers, Eagles. That's not a fun five-game stretch for them. If the defense is playing like
5-game stretch for them. You got to sit here and think about it. Like the Steelers,
I just watched the Broncos defense here, and listen, they are not one to sleep on. Okay, they are doing everything defensively, and I've been impressed. I didn't think this was the kind of defense that would do this, but they've got a lot of young cats. They're without their tackler in Alex Singleton, and they're playing very well. Patrick Surtain is healthy, and so you face up against that defense, and then the other one is, I mean, look at Pittsburgh. You've got back-to-back division rival games there. I mean, who knows what they'll look like against the Bengals? I'm not entirely sure. And usually games like that are usually coin flips. But that I'm looking at right now, I know it's 2 games, and I would have to see Russell against a top-tier team to see how this offense plays out. But we can't disrespect that defense. That's the other part that I think could create a lot of problems here. So
I think you can. I think you can disrespect that Steelers defense because, like, if you look at all the teams that they've played, all of them, what is the one team out there that gave them the fits the most? It gave their defense the fits the most. That was the Colts-led team with Joe Flacco at the helm, a veteran quarterback that utilized the offensive pieces to a T. I mean, they have not played anybody in the league that has the offensive firepower to go toe-to-toe with the Steelers, except for the Dallas Cowboys.
I would also correct the Atlanta Falcons. Remember, they had – I get it, it's week one. I get it, it's week one. But still, that's also an offense that's humming. So
but like at the beginning of the season when you got Kirk Cousins coming off an injury and then you got him trying to get acclimated to his new offense, new team, new players, you're not going to perform well. If they played the Falcons now, I would 100% give it to the Falcons. But that Falcons first game of the season was not impressed with. Like I want to see what the Steelers can do throughout the rest of their schedule and see how they stack up. But like the Ravens, in my opinion, I think that the Bengals, it's a coin flip because if the offense can outperform the Ravens defense, you got it. With the Steelers always have the Ravens number, but with this new upgraded weapon with Deontay Johnson there, you might see a better offense ran with him in the Ravens' favor, beating the Steelers. I think the only one that would give them fits would be the Eagles, only because Saquon Barkley will run all over that defense.
Well, I will tell you what, though. I mean, I'm looking at that Hard Bowl game on Monday night.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one that's interesting because Jim Harbaugh is going to want to come in with some fire. He wants to. So that's why I think it's, again, there are I'd have to see what the result of that Bronco game looks like for me to even think this team might be a bit shaky. But going back to the Steelers on this is we're going to find that out this week against Washington. So again, we're holding up to that response because if they shut Jaden Daniels out, right, and let's say they've limited the Commanders to at least 10 points or 15, then maybe we have a different point here. And listen, this is kind of the rule. New information, new opinion. That's kind of where it is. Every time we get this information, our opinions change. I mean, that's because we're staying current with this. But, yeah, interesting stuff. But, all right. Well, folks, I will tell you what, with all this football talk, the only thing that's really been firing us all up is what's happening on BetUS.com. BetUS was arguably one of the best sports books in the nation for over 30 years, providing you the best in play from NFL season to the World Series. By the way, Yankees-Dodgers tonight. This is one the Yankees really got to grab, but I don't think it's going to matter for the Dodgers, but knowing that they're going to go back to L.A. for the 2 games. But it's been fun this season. And by the way, it kind of sucks because that diehard New York fan, now he's gone. He ain't going to be there at that game now after what we just saw with him and Mookie Betts. But besides that, World Series has been fantastic. NBA season has officially begun. And hockey season, by the way, because I love to tune into my boys in Vegas. It is a great, great time of year, especially with BetUS, where we've got daily contests. We've got all the best sporting books and parlay bets for you to choose from to get you on the edge of your betting game. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER and seek therapy in your respective states. When you sign up at BetUS, we want you to experience it the right way, not gambling recklessly. The best thing about BetUS is you get your very own account manager, so you get the best of the experience. When you sign up, $50 or more into your deposits with 125% in your first 3 deposits that match up to $2,000. That means more of the fun. They're not tricking you on this kind of promotion. They are treating you to a one-of-a-kind experience when you use BetUS, especially coming up with this Halloween season before we get into Thanksgiving season next month. So check out BetUS for yourself, BetUS.com, where the game begins.
Looking for a show with the best takes and opinions? Want a show with the best coverage around the world of sports? Jam-packed with an all-star interview lineup? Then the best place to find it all, sports and entertainment, is right here. Join Jake Silva on the Snake Sports Talk Show, presented by SeatGeek and BetUS. Weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Want to find your seat for the event of your choice but can't get one that fits your desire or your budget? Well, my friends, SeatGeek has you covered. SeatGeek is the official sponsor of the Snake Sports Talk Show. With a list of over hundreds of events to choose from, SeatGeek will assure you that you won't miss your seat with the amazing view of your choice at the most affordable price. Whether it's looking for your best seat in the house of your favorite sports team, finding live concerts that get you closer to your favorite artist, or enjoying your spot at your favorite live shows, comedies, and more, SeatGeek has it all just for you. Go online to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your mobile device through Google Play and the App Store. And as a special offer before checkout, use promo code SNAKESPORTS and save yourself $20 off of your purchase of your first ticket, and experience why SeatGeek is the most trusted ticketing app for your next event. Remember, that's SeatGeek.com and download the app on your phone with promo code SNAKESPORTS for $20 off and find your seat with SeatGeek.
Check out the Con Man live on the Sports Corner, coming to a screen near you, giving you the greatest stories from basketball legends you've never seen before. Sharing their glory, building the toughness, and how they show off their swag. But only one man knows all that, and that's the Con Man. Join Michael Conceição, the Con Man, at the Sports Corner, Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific on Sports Wave Network.
Oh, what in the world happened to you? There it goes. Well. So it's already starting off as a bang in New York. Aaron Judge just hit a 2-run home run, and then Jazz Chisholm to back it up. Back-to-back home runs from the Yankees. It's 3-0 already in this game. Garrett Cole with the nod, and Jack Flaherty back at it. Is this a time where the Yankees figured out that mistake of pulling Garrett Cole? I don't know. Hopefully they don't pull him out this time, especially if the Yankees really want to take away this game, the last game in New York. But what a series it has been all the way through. So I definitely wanted to touch upon this subject because I've been talking about this all season long. And it has not looked good for one particular player, and that's Daniel Jones. I mean, New York has already looked like a dumpster fire outside of the Yankees, who are in the World Series. But the Jets with Aaron Rodgers, I've already spoke about this heavily last night, and I was being very real about this. And now we're with the Giants. So the Giants lost to the Steelers on Monday Night Football. And I got to tell you, year 6 of Daniel Jones, how much more of this could you possibly take? The Giants and John Mara came out, I believe it was a week ago, and they spoke to everyone in the public and to the press that both Brian Dable and Joe Shane have been retained for the 25 season. They're not going anywhere. So that only leaves now the elephant in the room, and that's Daniel Jones. I like Daniel Jones. I think he's a good kid, and there are parts where he can get emotional and frustrated when things are not going right. But Daniel Jones now, before Brian Daboll came in here, the Giants tried to sell you on a Duke quarterback that clearly I know is mobile. You know what he looks like right now? He's practically Eli Manning, but with wheels. That's really what Daniel Jones is. I mean, you didn't buy into so much of Eli Manning. You knew he was not the greatest quarterback in the league. But the only thing that really justified everything was 2 Super Bowl wins, and both of them against Brady and the Patriots. That's the only thing that really has been saving Eli Manning's career. Daniel Jones, since he came into this league, hasn't really been that top-tier quarterback. There have been times where he's been having miscues on offense. There has been times where it feels to me like Brian Daboll and their rookie receiver, Malik Neighbors, has been bailing Daniel Jones out. And yet all of a sudden, Daniel Jones looks like this great quarterback. No, I don't see it. This is already year 6. And listen, I know the Giants want to get out of this deal. And listen, you have your fellow division rival, the Dallas Cowboys. What did they do before the season started? They paid Dak. It was a red carpet. It was one of those situations against the Cleveland Browns. And before anything, before kickoff, there's Jerry Jones signing off the papers. Dak's been paid $60 million a year. But look at how a circus show is looking right now in Dallas. The Giants, you paid $45 million per year for Daniel Jones. And yet Saquon Barkley leaves the building. What happened the week before Pittsburgh? Oh, yeah, Saquon Barkley just basically gave you ghosts, haunted your entire house. John Mara was not happy with that. And even he expressed that the second we watched that on Hard Knocks when he went to the Eagles, a division rival, and you knew that that was going to creep out the Giants that much. I'm surprised, though, that John Mara is even retaining Joe Schoen. I'm very surprised at that. After that kind of move, and after what we just saw, like on television, all of us, how does he end up getting his job retained? I love Brian Daboll, but that there just kind of just told you with what New York's market and usually what New York's business has looked like. You are watching this thing right now with, you are watching this clearly in both New York teams, the Giants and the Jets. Both John Mara and Woody Johnson have done an absolute disservice right now to those teams, which is very sad because Woody Johnson, you've given too much power to Aaron Rodgers, where now he brings in Devontae Adams, he fires Robert Saleh, you demote Nate Hackett, and you elevate the DC, which now the defense doesn't look the same. Sauce Gardner now apparently is being told on how to tackle better. He didn't have this problem when Saleh was in the building. He didn't have this problem. He was actually a very good shutdown corner. Now things are starting to look like turmoil. And the Giants, oh, we want Bryant Burns. We want that pass rush because that's what people like. They like the Giants, G-men. But you know what's difficult about that is you have a horrid secondary. And at the same time, Daniel Jones is not the answer at year 6. I understand being frustrated and yet getting a quarterback. Okay. I think the Giants going into next year really, really, really need to start thinking hard about drafting a quarterback. There are 2 in this draft. But I'll be honest with you, I don't even know if the Giants really had the reach to going and getting a quarterback. This is where it kind of sucks right now if you are the Giants. Because there are only 2, Shedeur Sanders, and I would argue Cam Ward is the other one. If you want to make a bet with Jalen Milroe, you go right ahead. But I watched Jalen Milroe over the weekend. Kalen DeBoer is not making him look like the Jalen Milroe we like. RPO quarterback. He is trying to be more of the pocket passer, and we know that doesn't work. Okay, if you do not have him scrambling or running out the pocket, creating space, Jalen Milroe is not going to perform this well. But we know Daniel Jones can be mobile. Okay, and you know what? If you want to come at me with pitchforks and torches, New York, you go right ahead. Because I've already said Daniel Jones is practically Eli Manning, but with wheels. Okay, he's probably got I can't even think of some of these tire companies, but that's what he's got. He's a guy that apparently has street wheel tires that apparently can move fast, but yet can be uncontrollable if you don't have control of the wheel. Is that about perfect to break that down? I think what you got to do with this thing, I think you really got to end up moving on from Daniel Jones. I really do. But it's going to be a lot harder and not that simple than people think right now, outside eyes looking in. Chase with the news.
This is the Hot Press.
I don't know, man. Listen, I can be brutally honest with a lot of things because I do not, I'm America's honesty mind. I cannot lie about this. I can't beat around the bush about this. I mean, am I crazy for saying that Daniel Jones is practically Eli Manning, but with wheels? That's really what he is. And it's not working right now with the Giants.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And it's kind of puzzling how Brian Daboll was supposed to do. Supposedly got this team to 11 wins his first year there as the Giants head coach. That just goes to show you how good of a coach he really is.
But here's the problem, though. I can understand, and for somebody, too, that deals with organizational turmoil, right? Mm-hmm. Because this is what people right now are thinking of Kevin Stefanski. I'm not. I love Kevin Stefanski. I think he's a great offensive coordinating coach. And Brian Daboll is having the same similar issue. How could you possibly manage an offense if you can't give him a healthy line? If you can't give him at least, you've only given him one very good weapon, and that's Malik Neighbors. That's it. But no, we want to fall in love with Brian Burns and the pass rush and that ridiculous D line instead of your secondary getting torched, your offensive line outside of Andrew Thomas not looking great. How am I supposed to take that seriously? And unfortunately, Daboll is kind of caught in the middle with this. And the same I would say for Kevin Stefanski with the Deshaun Watson deal. He's caught in the middle of this. I mean, he's not the one who wanted this trade. He's doing all that he can to make this offense viable, but it's not giving both those coaches any justice right now.
Which is why I don't think Kevin's getting fired this year, and I'm glad that the Giants owner came out and said we're not firing Daboll either, because it's not his fault.
I'm just surprised they're even keeping Joe Shane. I don't know what was that.
I'm shocked too, but at this point in time, if Joe Shane does not trade up to the first or second pick to pick up Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I don't know who he's going to pick. It maybe Quinn Ewers. I could see him succeeding under Brian Daboll.
I'd say that's a possibility. Yeah, I could see that working.
That's the only other option. But to get into the news, the Lions may have to make a decision very soon on one of their top premier weapons, who was starting to play really well for them at the very beginning of the season. Yeah. But now with Jameson Williams, with the gambling issue, the PED use, and now having a warrant out for his arrest and being arrested, you are starting to see nothing but problems with Jameson Williams, and they're going to need to possibly move on from this guy or trade him to another team.
Well, here's the crazy thing about the Lions, because they absolutely dog-walked the Cowboys. They have dog-walked
the Titans.
They dog-walked. Oh, God. I can't even believe it. How could the Titans still continuously play? I mean, I was like, just throw in this towel, get it over with.
They had the best defense going into that game, too. Did you see that?
Yes, they did. But here's the thing. I think that the crazy part of it is that, look, they're doing all of this right now. And by the way, Their pass rushes stepped up in a massive way without Aiden Hutchinson. But I do agree you got to make a move. And I think in the end, I think the only two logical ones that do make sense, because listen, this Max Crosby thing, I don't see it really realistically happening. I get it. He went to school in Eastern Michigan. But if you really want to look at it from a financial and then yet again a future standpoint, I don't see this working out. I don't see the Raiders really giving up their entirety of their defense to the Detroit Lions. I understand doing a service for him because he doesn't want to be in a losing culture, but I just don't see that happening. But I do think Zadarius Smith is an option. Harold Landry is a very good option. I also do believe maybe Trayvon Walker, I think, would be a wild card for me. But I think the other kid, Keon something, I think he's also a very good option as well. But as far as the Max Crosby and as far as the Myles Garrett thing, I don't really realistically see that happening. But those ones there, I think makes sense for Detroit, because you're trying to get somebody on an extra year so that when Aiden Hutchinson does come back healthy, you're complementing that pass rush and he gets less the heat put on him. He can then recover at least and progress 110% of the way. I think that's more logical this way.
Yeah, Zadarius Smith has 1 year left on his contract. He signed a 2-year contract, $14 million. So you'll get him for $7 million if you sign him for next year. And then not to mention that he was held out of Browns practice today for a non-football injury or illness. So it's beginning to make me think that before this game on Sunday, we might see him as a Detroit Lion. So that'll be interesting and absolutely insane. Another piece of news is that DK Metcalf has been in a lot of trade talks, who was drafted in, I believe, 2019.
Yep, been in the league AJ Brown,
Yep, been in the league for quite some time. And I believe that the Seahawks want to get younger at that position. And what better way to get young than to get some draft capital for one of the premier wide receivers in this league? And there are a lot of wide receiver needy teams that could use him. And I've got 3 realistic destinations that I could see him going. 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. 2, I could see him going to the LA Chargers. And then the third option, which would be a wild card option, I could see him going to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. No, I think those are very good options, because here's the thing. You want a guy with at least like an edge rusher, at least with like D-line help. There's going to be teams out there that's going to inquire about D-line help, and I think those are some very, very good teams from there. Now, remember, the Chiefs just acquired Josh Uche from the Patriots. And it was crazy how they did that, because honestly, it feels to me like this is a Frank Clark type of filling in hole with Josh Uche, because things were clearly not producing right in New England. And Patriot fans will tell you that. I just talked to a very close source that runs the Patriots, Colby Cochran of Patriots Global. He announced that. Like he gave the best breakdown. He's not playing his best right now in this defense with the Patriots, which we could clearly see with Gerard Mayo. But you're going to see a different look of defense with Steve Spagnuolo, so it works out perfectly. Now, Zadarius Smith, I mean, he's been around in the league for quite some time, and I think he's very much a very good option. Now, with DK Metcalf, though, is the thing about the Seahawks, they gave an extension for Tyler Lockett. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, by the way, I mean, the kid is very good. The kid clearly can work with the Seattle offense. But I think with DK Metcalf, I mean, if you were, what's funny? He's physically built. He's just a different specimen of a human being. But the only thing that he has to control at times is sometimes his attitude when he's on the field. If there's a team out there that I feel like could make a serious sneaky move, because I don't know, there are teams that could do that depending on how the Seahawks pan and play this out. Because remember, the NFC West looks like a mess right now. Yeah. The fact that Arizona is literally going to be the first place team if they win this week is insane. That's just pure insanity. But if this don't work right with Seattle, they do have receivers. They can go and get another one come the next season. I don't know, man. There are some teams up out there that like some physicality. And I think, if DK Metcalf, if he goes to it, he's a very good blocking wide receiver. He's also somebody that really can get involved in this offense. So there's possibilities there.
And one more sneaky team, and then this will be it. And I can see also trading for Houston Texans.
Yeah, after Stephon Diggs went down for the season. Yeah. But they are going to get Nico Collins back, which is going to be a pretty good breath of fresh air for quite some time. But yeah, that's another team that could very much use that after that crushing blow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wow. No, this is going to be an interesting one. I just think come Tuesday with everything, I'm just waiting to see what the results of Sunday are going to look like. And then Monday morning and then come Tuesday, the actual trade deadline, that is going to look deadly. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of moves from there.
Oh, I think so too. Like Sunday, it's going to determine whether or not teams make a big push.
Yeah.
Just because you're going to see teams lose, teams that keep losing, maybe the Jags, maybe the Titans, maybe the Broncos, maybe even the Jets. If teams keep losing, you're going to see players get traded, and ones that you would never even have thought of.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's Chase with the news.
This is the hot press.
So the playoff picture, if it started tomorrow, I have a little picture up on here and proof of it.
Oh.
And I think you'd be very, very curious what that looks like today. So if the playoffs were to start tomorrow, because there are a number of teams here. So let's go from the AFC and we'll go to the NFC. So the AFC right now, it's the undefeated Chiefs at number one. I mean,
yes.
that's just clear. The 2 seed is the Houston Texans. The 3 is the Steelers. Then 4 is the Buffalo Bills. Now, the wild card spots, as you see of today, is the Broncos, the Ravens, and the Chargers. Broncos are second in the AFC West right now at 5-3, and they are moving with momentum. So if they beat the Ravens this week, that is one that's going to very much entice people because Vegas had this team at 5 wins. 5. They are already at 5 wins right now, which is why I think it was very disrespectful, the fact that the Broncos were getting 5 wins right off the bat. Why? Because Russell Wilson's not there. Okay, this is a rookie quarterback. I understand it that, rookie quarterbacks at times, you're either going to get one of 2 things. He's either going to succeed or he's going to be frantic. But Bo Nix, I watched it in person myself. Bo Nix in the first initial drives, it did not look pretty. But the more and more, he's a slow cook building quarterback. All he has to do is get small, simple passes completed. Once he gets into a rhythm, he's let loose. So that's why I'm like, the Broncos are proving one big thing from here. And by the way, PS2, Nick Benito, and a bunch of others, they have very much played very, very well up on defense. Now, that game, and here's the other thing too. Lamar has been playing on cloud 9 since beating NFC teams. Now you're coming into AFC territory, okay? And that's where things are going to be very, very tested. So that's why, that stunner, that pissed off the Ravens big time against Cleveland. But you go in, and luckily they're at home at M&T Bank Stadium. But if they lose that game to Denver, there's going to be some serious question marks there. But I think we really do have to give our roses to the Broncos and what Sean Payton's been able to do with this team. The Chargers, we know, are kind of lingering on at 4-3. Jim Harbaugh is clearly changing this culture. The defense, by the way, here's a great thing about the defense. They are the one team that has not allowed more than 10 touchdowns on the defensive side of the ball. They have also, not one game has let a team score more than 20. There's been several teams that have already. The Chargers are standing on top of the mountain with that. So that defense looks very legit under Jesse Minter. But the offense
Great guy.
now is the offense right now, and here's what's funny. Justin Herbert, I mean, I watched that game through and through. It did not look pretty the first go around. I mean, it was 3-2. It was a baseball score. Then they reminded me of my old job of 9-5, and then all of a sudden they just broke it open against the Saints and went 26-8. So,
and then that dirty play happened where your center tackled.
Yep, Bradley Bozeman came in and speared him. Oh man, but you know what though? How about Ladd McConkey though?
Oh my God!
Twice connected, and that play that Herbert threw on the sideline, and he comes away with the catch. And I mean, the kid, he's making strides every week, and this is without Quinn Johnston and DJ Chark. So
we're
I
going to
guess
be without Denzel Ward and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah this week because Ward's out with a concussion.
Oh, JOK, yeah.
JOK with his neck injury, and he won't be back until after the bye. So it's going to be Greg Newsome and Martin Emerson going against that receiving core.
I mean, I look at that middle of the defense though, and that's one that if it's tight end territory and it's wide open, I mean, it depends on how Will Dissly feels. But again, it's going to come down to, I just feel there may be a trade involved. But for the Chargers, the thing I am hearing is now apparently there's rumors that Josh Palmer could be traded. I don't understand why, given the fact that this receiving core is so young, it's new. Why would they want to do a move? From what I'm told, he apparently is not on their future plans. So, okay, I can understand that, but he has had spurts where he's had to be a go up and get it type wide receiver, a potential replacement for Mike Williams at the time. But that's an interesting one to look at too. So that was the AFC picture. Now let's look at the NFC. Clearly, the Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFC. They're at number one. Number two is the Washington Commanders, which has very much surprised a lot of people. New people, new quarterback, new regime. I mean, this is very, very good. I mean, they've got a bunch of very good pieces from here. Now, I could see them in the deadline maybe potentially going and getting a corner at best because they're second right now in the cap space for next season. Or no, third. My mistake. They are third in cap space spending. So you go get a corner now. Next year, and because you know what? They get in the playoffs. If I'm a Commanders fan, I would not be mad. I would still celebrate if it is a win. But if they lose, I would not be mad. Because that just means you got a taste. They are literally doing what the Houston Texans did. Okay. And what I mean by that is that new quarterback, new coach, it's new everything. They have enough cap space next year that they can go and buy players, at least buy the right ones, and draft for depth. That is a very good position if you're Washington right now. Number three, the Atlanta Falcons. And number four, the Arizona Cardinals in the AFC West. Now, the wild card spots, this is what may shock you. Packers, Vikings, Eagles. I've told you, and Chase has been my witness in this program. The NFC East and the NFC West is what's bailing out for potentials of NFC North teams to make the playoffs. Yep. The only one that we don't see on this list is the Chicago Bears. But the Bears, we know, have a very good defense. They have a very good defense. The problem I have is that there is a part of that offense that is not clicking at times. And look, that Hail Mary play against the Commanders, that is one that you should not even have been in that spot. Offensively, they couldn't get anything going. Caleb Williams in the offense clearly was not on the same page. And so that's where things became trouble. And look, I like Matt Eberflus. I just may not like him as a head coach, but I love him as a defensive coordinator. But there has been rumors, though, however, and depending on how the Lions, they finish this season up, that Chicago has been linked very closely to a fellow division rival, and that's Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. That has been a real rumor. So the guy like Eberflus, I would like the opportunity to take him out as a head coach, but him not to leave the building in Chicago as a DC for that reason alone. I don't think he's done a terrible job with that defense because clearly that defense is playing great. I felt like that was all karma for Tyreek Stevenson after what happened in that play. But thus far, since he's been the head coach, that defense has played very well. So I would not let him go as a DC. But you bring in an offensive mind in Ben Johnson and get Caleb Williams and that offense and give me a healthy offensive line, maybe that's primed up for the Bears where they can actually look better next season.
Dude, you are not lying there. And I'm telling everybody right now, the Lions better win the Super Bowl this year because if and Ben Johnson goes, he has already told people who he would want on his staff. If that was the case, he is going to take the offensive lines coach from the Detroit Lions, who's gotten that offensive line to a top 5 unit. He's going to take him with him. And then he is going to go after Robert Saleh to be his defensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. And then he's going to take the quarterbacks coach from the Lions to be his quarterback coach / offensive coordinator. The only one that's going to stay with the Lions is Aaron Glenn, their defensive coordinator, unless he gets a head coaching job.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you what, man. I mean, that happens because here's the thing. Aaron Glenn, I mean, I like him, but I would very much love Robert Saleh as a defensive coordinator myself. And there has been times, and look, that secondary has been no joke. It is looking much better than we anticipated. So that's a good thing. But pass rush, that's why I'm like, they got to make a move on somebody because once Hutchinson's back, you need to have somebody that pairs up well next to him and hopefully have a healthier D line. Because there are going to be times where teams are going to want to play physical. And are you really ready for that if you're up front on that defensive front? That's the only part that I have with the Lions. But no, I agree with you. This is their year that they got to go and push it. They don't do that. That is going to be probably a long few months to have to think about.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, updates, of course. Well, what do you know? The two Giants have awakened. Giancarlo Stanton with a home run. It's 5-0 Yankees.
Wow.
Shall we say where we're surprised right now? I mean, this is what we've been talking about at this World Series. And I said that this is a series that would have been evenly matched for a few reasons because you have Giants on each side of their lineup that you cannot pitch around. The difference is that the Yankees have a rotation that I would argue could be better than the Dodgers. But after I just saw Walker Buehler, he looked fantastic. He looked very good. But the Dodgers have the edge of the bullpen. Because I watched the Yankees and how Aaron Boone managed that bullpen. That is not looking good. And that's the part, like, the only one that I could say who has been pitching very good is Luke Weaver. That's the only one that I think has been very, very good out of the pen. I would say Jake Cousins, to a certain degree, has kind of looked okay, but you are putting him in the most pressurizing spots. Like, if you put Jake Cousins in there while you got Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, after what I just watched Freddie Freeman do in the first 4 games, that's not fun.
I'm just shocked because I expected after a 3-game series, win. I expected the Dodgers to come out today and shut them down, especially with Flaherty on the mound. But man, 5-0 already?
5-0 already. And you know what? But here's the thing, though. Garrett Cole is already dealing in 3 innings. He's only got 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. I mean, that game 1, the mistake the Yankees did, and Derek Jeter put this together beautifully. You have a guy, and you know what's funny? I was on the call for the World Series back in 2020 with the Rays. And I remember calling one of the games where Blake Snell, when he was on the Rays, you know how many pitches he was in that game? 88. And he was dealing because the Dodgers were not great against left-handed starters. But yet Kevin Cash pulled him out at the worst time. Dodgers became world champs. The Yankees in game 1, Garrett Cole was dealing at 88 pitches. And Derek Jeter said something that I thought was very pivotal. Al Leiter, at his time at the Mets in that Subway World Series, threw for over 140 pitches. Okay? When you're in a big stage like this, the analytics and statistics does not matter. You have got to do whatever it takes instinctively, because if Garrett Cole is dealing, why? It's like the same phrase. Why would you fix something that's not broken? Why would you overly do that? Now, you came into a situation where you're lucky the bullpen even bailed you out. Okay? You score in a run to at least get the lead, but then bases loaded, Nestor Cortez comes up, and Freddie Freeman hits a grand slam home run, a little Kirk Gibson moment. That's the part where I think Aaron Boone really got checked in. But that's why I'm like, with Garrett Cole dealing, the difference is, did the Yankees learn their lesson from the last time? So he's dealing right now with no earned runs and 3 strikeouts. I'm going to be watching that here after this program, but that is one I'm paying attention very closely, because if one pull, there better be a logical reason behind that.
Exactly.
I just would not be moving something that's just not broken. That's not what I would do. If it's working fine, why would you tussle with it? So, good stuff, man. By the way, Halloween tomorrow. You gonna get some candy or anything up over there? They got any of the sweet stuff where you're at?
they got a lot of sweet stuff, but unfortunately I'm stuck at work. So. Oh
man. Well, I'll tell you what though. Usually Halloween is normally the longest night for anybody, any first responders that we know watching the show right now. It's very long. I mean, you got a lot of kids up out there, and it is a school night. So as long as all the kids are safe, the trick-or-treating the right way, and they're not getting themselves into any, shenanigans, hopefully it will not be so long of a night. But usually for first responders, it usually is. So I'm thinking of them during the Halloween night, because it's not an easy time. They're always alerted. They're always on, they're always on it when it comes to that first call. So hopefully, man, it's not going to be so long of a night tomorrow. I really hope not. Hopefully everything is safe and smooth, and it's going to be fun for the kids. But yeah, I mean, Halloween, the only treat I would love is I would very much love a very good sweet deal in the NFL that I think could be very pivotal come the weekend.
Yeah, I would love for the Yankees to lose. That's my sweet treat.
Yeah, there you go. There's his king-size bar sweet treat right there, is for the Yankees to literally lose to the Dodgers of Crown Chess. All right, we're headed out. Appreciate everybody for joining us here up on the program. If you guys are trick-or-treating with your little ones, happy Halloween to all of you guys tomorrow night. We will not have a show on the program. We're back on live Friday. Prime predictions, everything, you name it. We've got some serious changes really kind of coming around here on the network, but it's going to be fun. The show sponsored by BetUS. $50 or more to your deposit, 125% bonuses of 3 deposits will get you to $2,000, enjoying more of the fun. A sweet treat for you to really check out what BetUS's award-winning sportsbook is all about. Check it out for yourself. BetUS, where the game begins, and also up on SeatGeek. I had I had such a fun time in Mile High the past weekend. And boy, SeatGeek really came in the clutch for it. Best seats to where I got a chance to see Bo Nix in Mile High and enough to see the whole field, both offensively and defensively. So wherever you are in your next sporting event, live concert with your favorite artist to get you close into the action, or your favorite shows or whatnot, whatever your interests are, give SeatGeek a try. SeatGeek.com, or download it on your mobile device or Google Play in the App Store. Please, when you guys do it before checkout, use that promo code SnakeSports for $20 off of your first purchase of the first ticket, because we don't want you to miss out on a once-in-a-lifetime experience when you use SeatGeek. So that's SeatGeek.com, promo code SnakeSports, $20 off. For Chase and myself, have a great rest of the week. We'll see you guys back on Friday. But for those of you tomorrow night, happy Halloween and stay safe out there, guys.